Shalom once again, my friends. Still in the Book of Hanok, chapter 72, Astronomy. The book of the courses of the lights of the Shamayim, the relations of each according to their classes, their dominion, and their seasons, according to their names and places of origin, and according to their months, which Uriel, the Kodesh messenger who was with me, who is their guide, showed me. And he showed me all their laws, exactly as they are, and how it is with regard to all the years of the world, and unto everlasting, till the new creation is accomplished, which endures till everlasting. Till the new creation is accomplished, which endures till everlasting. Man, I'm telling you, Yahweh's plan is beyond our present understanding. And this is the first law of the lights, the light. The sun has its rising in the eastern portals of the Shamayim, and its going down in the western portals of the Shamayim. And I saw 6 portals in which the sun rises. And I saw 6 portals in which the sun rises, and 6 portals in which the sun goes down, and the moon rises and goes down in these portals, and the leaders of the stars and those whom they lead, 6 in the east and 6 in the west, and all following each other in accurately corresponding order. Also, many windows to the right and left of these portals. The Science Channel won't give you details on this, my friends. Verse 4, and first there goes forth the great light named the sun, and its circumference is like the circumference of the Shamayim, and he is quite filled with illuminating and heating fire. The chariot on which he ascends, the wind drives, and the sun goes down from the Shamayim and returns through the north in order to reach the east, and is so guided that he comes to that portal and shines in the face of the Shamayim. In this way, he rises in the first month in the great portal, which is the 4th. And in that 4th portal, from which the sun rises, in the first month are 12 window openings, from which proceed a flame when they are opened in their season. When the sun rises in the Shamayim, he comes forth through that 4th portal 30 mornings in succession, and goes down exactly in the 4th portal in the west of the Shamayim. And during this period, the day becomes daily longer, and the night nightly shorter, to the 30th morning. On that day, the day is longer than the night by a 9th part, and the day amounts exactly to 10 parts, and the night to 8 parts. And the sun rises from that 4th portal, and goes down in the 4th, and returns to the 5th portal of the east 30 mornings, and rises from it and goes down in the 5th portal. And then the day becomes longer by 2 parts, and amounts to 11 parts, and the night becomes shorter and amounts to 7 parts. Verse 13, and it returns to the east and enters into the 6th portal, and rises and goes down in the sixth portal 31 mornings on account of its sign. On that day, the day becomes longer than the night, and the day becomes double the night, and the day becomes 12 parts, and the night is shortened and becomes 6 parts. And the sun mounts up to make the day shorter and the night longer, and the sun returns to the east and enters into the sixth portal, and rises from it and goes down 30 mornings. And when 30 mornings are accomplished, the day decreases by exactly 1 part and becomes 11 parts, and the night 7. And the sun goes forth from that sixth portal in the west, and goes to the east, and rises in the fifth portal for 30 mornings, and goes down in the west again in the fifth western portal. On that day, the day decreases by 2 parts, and amounts to 10 parts, and the night to 8 parts. And the sun goes forth from that fifth portal, and goes down in the fifth portal of the west, and rises in the fourth portal for 31 mornings on account of its sign, and goes down in the west. On that day, the day is equalized with the night, and the night amounts to 9 parts, and the day to 9 parts. And the sun rises from that portal, and goes down in the west, and returns to the east, and rises 30 mornings in the third portal, and goes down in the west in the third portal. And on that day the night becomes longer than the day, and the night becomes longer than night, and day shorter than day, till the 30th morning, and the night amounts exactly to 10 parts, and the day to 8 parts. And the sun rises from that third portal, and goes down in the third portal in the west, and returns to the east, and for 30 mornings rises in the second portal in the east, and in the same way goes down in the second portal in the west of the Ahmein. Verse 24, and on that day the night amounts to 11 parts, and the day to 7 parts. And the sun rises on that day from that second portal, and goes down in the west in the second portal, and returns to the east into the first portal for 31 mornings, and goes down in the first portal in the west of the Ahmein. And on that day the night becomes longer, and amounts to the double of the day, and the night amounts exactly to 12 parts, and the day to 6. And the sun has traversed the divisions of its orbit, and turns again on those divisions of its orbit, and enters that portal 30 mornings, and goes down also in the west opposite to it. Now, I hear somebody saying, the sun orbits? Yeah, the sun orbits. It doesn't say that it's orbiting the earth. We know that it doesn't. But how many orbits are going on out there? They said for I don't know how many years that our solar system is in the Milky Way galaxy. Well, I heard recently that now they're saying, well, we might not be in the Milky Way galaxy. We may just be looking at it, and we're, they understand so little, it's almost hilarious. But the fact is, the planets in our solar system are orbiting the sun. The sun is the central focus. Now here the word is saying that the sun is orbiting through these portals. Boy, there's portals, there's windows. I can't fathom what's going on. But certainly our solar system is orbiting. Therefore the sun is orbiting. And galaxies that we see out there, everything's orbiting, I have this idea in my head that something funny is going on with time. The fourth dimension, which we don't understand. Time is funny. Yahweh is outside of time. not going to get into that, but my point is our solar system, the galaxy we are in, if we're even in one, I don't know, but our solar system is traversing through the universe, and we're moving, our whole solar system is moving into areas out there that it has not been in, I imagine, in all of history. And we're moving closer towards something, certainly, if we're moving at all, we're moving closer to something. And I believe that as we get closer to that something, time is changing. I believe it's crunching. I believe it's being condensed. I believe that the days are going by a lot faster. And it's like, I'm sure you have theories on that yourself. A lot of people have theories. Well, my theory is that it's crunching because we're heading towards the second coming of Mashiach. And time, something's happening with time. It's crunching. It's being condensed. It's moving faster, not slower. Where was I? I'm sorry, I got a little sidetracked. I think I was on verse 27. I'll repeat it. And the sun has traversed the divisions of its orbit, and turns again on those divisions of its orbit, and enters that portal 30 mornings, and goes down also on the west opposite to it. Verse 28. And on that night, the night has decreased in length by a 9th part, and the night has become 11 parts, and the day 7 parts. And the sun has returned and entered into the second portal in the east, and returns on those its divisions of its orbit for 30 mornings, rising and going down. And on that day the night decreases in length, and the night amounts to 10 parts, and the day to 8. And on that day the sun rises from that portal, and goes down in the west, and returns to the east, and rises in the third portal for 31 mornings, and goes down in the west of the Shamayim. On that day the night decreases and amounts to 9 parts, and the day to 9 parts, and the night is equal to the day, and the year is exactly as to its days, 364. Biblical calendars were always 360. Well, Hanok is telling us here 364. Verse 33, and the length of the day and of the night, and the shortness of the day and of the night arise. Through the course of the sun they are separated. So it comes that its course becomes daily longer, and its course nightly shorter. And this is the law and the course of the sun, and its return as often as he returns, 60 times, and rises the great light which is named the sun forever and ever. And that which rises is the great light, and is so named according to its appearance, according as Yahweh commanded. As he rises, so he goes down, and does not decrease, and does not rest, but runs day and night, and its light is 7-fold brighter than that of the moon. But as regards size, they are both equal. Isn't it amazing how when there's a lunar eclipse, the moon moves in front of the sun? It's exactly the same size visually from our point of view. Chapter 73. And after this law, I saw another law dealing with the smaller light, which is named the moon. And her circumference is like the circumference of the Shamayim, and her chariot in which she rides is driven by the wind, and light is given to her in measure. And her rising and going down change every month, and her days are like the days of the sun, and when her light is uniform, it amounts to the 7th part of the light of the sun. And thus she rises, and her first phase in the east comes forth on the 30th morning, and on that day she becomes visible and constitutes for you the first phase of the moon on the 30th day, together with the sun in the portal where the sun rises. And the 1/2 of her goes forth by a 7th part, and her whole circumference is empty, without light, with the exception of 1/7 part of it, the 14th part of her light. And when she receives 1/7 part of the half of her light amounts to 1/7 part and the half thereof. And she goes down with the sun, and when the sun rises, the moon rises with him, and receives the half of 1 part of light. And in that night, in the beginning of her morning, in the beginning of the lunar day, the moon goes down with the sun, and is invisible that night with the 14 parts and the half of 1 of them. And she rises on that day with exactly a 7th part, and comes forth and recedes from the rising of the sun, and in her remaining days she becomes bright in the 13 parts. Chapter 74, And I saw another course, a law for her. Now according to that law she performs her monthly revolution. And all these, Uriel, the Kodesh messenger, who is the leader of them all, showed to me and their positions. And I wrote down their positions as he showed them to me. And I wrote down their months as they were, and the appearance of their lights, till 15 days were accomplished. In single 7th parts she accomplishes all her light in the east, and in single 7th parts accomplishes all her darkness in the west. And in certain months she alters her going down, and in certain months she pursues her own peculiar course. In 2 months the moon goes down with the sun, in those 2 middle portals, the 3rd and the 4th. She goes forth for 7 days, and turns about, and returns again through the portal where the sun rises, and accomplishes all her light. And she recedes from the sun, and in 8 days enters the 6th portal from which the sun goes forth. And when the sun goes forth from the 4th portal, she goes forth 7 days, until she goes forth from the 5th, and turns back again in 7 days into the 4th portal, and accomplishes all her light. And she recedes and enters into the 1st portal in 8 days. And she returns again in 7 days into the 4th portal, from which the sun goes forth. Thus I saw their position, how the moon rose and the sun went down in those days. And if 5 years are added together, the sun has an excess of 30 days, and all the days which increase to it for one of those 5 years, when they are full, amount to 364 days. And the excess of the sun and of the stars amounts to 6 days. In 5 years, 6 days every year come to 30 days, and the moon falls behind the sun and stars to the number of 30 days. And are you writing all this down? And the sun and the stars bring in all the years exactly, so that they do not advance or delay their position by a single day unto everlasting, but complete the years with perfect justice in 364 days. In 3 years there are 1,092 days, and in 5 years 1,820 days, so that in 8 years there are 2,912 days. For the moon alone, the days amount in 3 years to 1,062 days, and in 5 years she falls 50 days behind. To the sum there is 5 to be added, and 62 days. And in 5 years there are 1,700 70 days, so that for the moon the days 6 in 8 years amount to 21,832 days. For in 8 years she falls behind to the amount of 80 days. All the 17 days she falls behind in 8 years are 80, and the year is accurately completed in conformity with their world stations and the stations of the sun, which rise from the portals through which it rises and goes down 30 days. We'll break there, and we'll come back next time, and we'll take up with chapter 75 and the book of Astronomy within the book of Hanok. Shalom.